You're welcome. See you later.
Ride?
Yep.
Okay.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Looks like they're reaching for each other.
Sorry?
Well, the trees, it looks just like they're reaching for each other.
Yeah, you're right, it does.
The whole place. It's like a different painting every day.
You know, you're very fortunate to work here.
I know. Hey, you want a lollipop?
Excuse me?
It's root beer. You like root beer?
Actually, I do.
It's root beer, but with a little bit of licorice.
Thank you. I like it. I like everything about this place.
Like what? What do you like about it?
I don't know, it's just, it's so beautiful. I can't describe it.
In words, yeah.
I guess so.
I mean, words versus images.
Images?
Pictures.
No, don't do that either. I used to. When I was in college, I used to drive down to the beach and I'd sketch for hours. Oh well, doesn't matter anyway.
Oh, well.
Hey, Mom. Where you been?
What?
We got cold. You eating a lollipop?
I am.
Got any candy for the kids?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right.
Let's go back.
Come on, buddy.
Let's go. Yeah. All right. It's okay. Here.
I don't get it, to be honest with you.
That really doesn't surprise any of us, David.
Seriously, if I didn't have ambition, nothing would get done.
Is that supposed to be a comment about us? You have a napkin, please.
You know what I mean. Like we're supposed to sit around and wait for things to happen to us magically.
There's nothing wrong with a little magic in life.
I can't trust magic. What I can trust is my own will to get things done. That's my main problem with what Dr. Dyer's saying.
Okay, he's right there. You want to keep it down?
He didn't hear me.
Dr. Dyer, you want to come
hi.
join us?
Sure, I'd love to. How you guys doing?
Great.
Good.
This chicken's great. Good. So, Dr. Dyer,
Yes.
we were all just discussing your
Right.
first interview and all those things you said. And basically, David thinks that it's all BS.
What? David? Yes, really?
I don't think all of it is. I mean, I'm entitled to my own opinion, right?
Absolutely. You are entitled to your opinion, and I respect it. And you know, David, you don't have to get this all at once. You know, just get a little bit at a time. That's all it takes. You know, you just start practicing it. Eventually, it becomes a way of life, and you start living from a different perspective.
I'm not really a spiritual person. I'm too busy.
Yeah, spirituality is kind of like a luxury.
That is true. I find it hard to find time to meditate.
Let me ask you this. Do you think that you're an inspired person? Do you live an inspired life? Do you feel inspired?
I have no idea.
Really? Well, let's take an example. Let's supposing I had an apple pie that we had just made. And out of this apple pie, we take one slice. We take the rest of the pie, put it over here, and I take this slice and I give it to someone. Let's say I gave it to you, Ron, and I say, Ron, what is this?
That's an apple pie?
How do you know that? How do you know it's an apple pie?
Because it came from an apple pie.
So, well, you laugh, but I mean, the truth is that's a very profound statement that you just made, that everything in the universe must be like what it came from. You take an acorn and you'll never get a rose bush out of it. You look at yourself and you ask yourself the question, Where did I come from? Who am I and what am I like? You know, instead of making our choices out of the place that we really are, our authentic self, we're making them out of the ego. And every time we make choices out of the ego, all kinds of things begin to happen to us that take us away from finding meaning in our lives.
How do you know if you're making a choice from your higher self?
You gauge everything on the basis of how you feel. Are you stressed out? Are you anxious? Are you fearful? Are you angry? Do you feel good about yourself? Do you feel like you're on purpose? Do you feel like your life has any meaning? When you're operating out of the only part of yourself that is authentic, bliss is your response.
But what about the upside of ambition? I mean, I'm a filmmaker, and if I didn't, doesn't ego serve me? I mean, if I was going with the flow, I'd never get a movie made.
That's a conclusion that you've come to because you think out of the ego. You know, the fact is that you might even be able to make much greater films if you came out of a higher place. Imagine yourself as being able to live and work and do everything that you do from this place that, well, it's called Dharma.
What's Dharma?
Dharma is a spiritual principle that implies there is a purpose to our lives. Like an otter has a dharma, a bird has a dharma. Everything has a purpose. And when you find yourself living from that purpose, you have found your dharma. Your dharma is something that you will be living by. And rather than constantly using the ego, you will begin to say, this is what I'm here for. It's like, I call it a calling. It's like an inner calling.
How do you know what your dharma is? Like, what if you can't even find your dharma?
Yeah, I can't even find a date, let alone my dharma.
Well, your dharma isn't anything you're ever going to find. Your dharma is something that you're always connected to. It is your divine purpose. It is something that you are aligned with throughout your entire life. The ego has kept us away from it.
Excuse me, I have to take this. This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt. How does this help me find a date exactly?
You don't need to find a date. If you live what I'm talking about, you'll understand that everything will be perfect and everyone that comes into your life will come in on time perfectly. You're a divine creation of God. You're a spiritual being. You don't need anyone else to confirm that.
I love that.
It's true. Dr. Dyer said it was.
It is true.
You know, I don't want you to think that I don't appreciate what you're saying. I do. Not that you would necessarily be concerned with what I'm saying, because that's the ego telling you what to think, right?
So you were listening?
Yeah, I'm listening. I just think it's good to have a plan.
Well, what's your plan?
To be a successful filmmaker, to make a name for myself, to make money, to have a good relationship.
So you're talking here about prosperity, you're talking about abundance, you're talking about happiness. I haven't any problem with that. I've been attracting abundance and prosperity into my life forever. I think it's actually quite easy to do. I really believe in it.
For you?
Well, you know, the problem what you're talking about here is the ego. The ego and your attachments. You know, you become attached to you know, how much money you're making and how well your film is doing and is everything working the way I've been told that it should work. When you become attached to things and they go away, you then lose who you are.
But it feels so much like survival.
We're not talking about survival here. We're talking about a shift away from the morning of your life and having to do everything for external reasons and moving into a higher place in your life.
Why don't we start with that tomorrow? How to make this shift?
It's a good idea. You know, I tell my audiences all the time that if this is something new to you and you've never heard it before, there's a shift probably heading your way as well.
Ha! That's all I need.
It could happen.
When great thinkers talk about union with God, there's this theme that comes through. It's about being in silence. When everyone else is asleep and there are no distractions, when you feel yourself alone with Source. This is the time when you are closest to Source. Being alone with Source is not just about feeling good, it's about a new awareness of my own divinity and what it's capable of achieving. It's all about returning back to the place that you came from. T.S. Eliot has a great quote, "We shall not cease from exploration." And the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time.
I got a cut.
Wayne, hold there for a minute. Hold there, Wayne, for a second. What is it?
It's a bad angle. I gotta be lower.
How long?
5 minutes.
Wayne, take 5. Just hang there. We're readjusting the shot.
Absolutely, no problem.
You want some water, Dr. Dyer?
No, thanks. I have an ocean here.
Finish that test real quick.
All right.
Hi, you've reached the office of Alex Chase at ICM. Please leave a message for Alex or Jason at the tone. Thanks.
Alex, it's David. Call me back when you get this. I'm getting a little antsy. I think we should have heard by now. What did the executive say? Do you know anything? And why haven't I had a meeting yet?
See the difference?
Yeah, call me back. I'd appreciate it.